Hello, I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, to sleep perchance to dream, we'll make a sound sleep your dream come true. Then we'll share untold tales of teeth that now twinkle. We'll investigate a Cleveland museum featuring murder, mystery, and the men and women who captured the culprits. Plus, we all pay a high price for health insurance fraud. We'll empower you with ways to prevent it. And we'll reveal little-known options for expiring term insurance.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. How'd you sleep last night? Was it a sweet slumber, or was it closer to no rest for the weary? If you only got a dose of dozing, you're not alone. Nearly 70 million of us experience some kind of sleep disorder at one time or another. So how can you put those sleepless nights to rest? Seek out a sleep specialist like Dr. Dennis Aukley. Dr. Aukley is the director of the Metro Health Center for Sleep Medicine. And thanks for joining us today, Doctor.
My pleasure.
So we hear all the time about how important diet and exercise is to our health. What about sleep?
Armin, I think sleep is extremely important. We've learned over the last 10 to 15 years just really how important sleep and getting enough sleep on a regular basis is. And I think it's safe to say at this point that along with the healthy diet and exercise, that getting enough quality sleep on a regular basis is a pillar of a healthy lifestyle.
Lack of sleep can actually hurt with diabetes and blood pressure and all kinds of illnesses.
Yes, that's correct. Everybody knows that if you don't get enough sleep, that it's going to impact how you feel in terms of your mood, alertness, things like that. But more recently, we're beginning to understand that a lack of enough sleep on a regular basis actually puts you at increased risk for all sorts of medical problems.
So what are some of the catch-22s that stop us from catching 40 winks?
Sure. Well, there's a wide range of sleep disorders that I'll come back to in a second, but one of the first things that we're really beginning to notice in society, there's sort of this paradox that as we're beginning to understand how important it is to get enough sleep, we're actually sleeping less and less. This may be the result of societal pressures from working two jobs, working at night, etc., to spending your night up on the internet or texting with friends and things like that. So those things clearly play a role, but there are a wide range of sleep disorders, over 80 recognized.
Let's start with insomnia, which is a biggie.
Sure. Yeah, insomnia is very common. So anywhere up to about a quarter to a third of people in the United States suffer from insomnia at any one point in time, and maybe more after the recent weather problems we've had. Fortunately, for most of those people, it's a short-term thing. They get over it with time, but for about 10% of the population, it is a chronic, persistent problem, with problems either falling asleep or staying asleep, and that can actually impact your health as well.
All right, and sleep apnea is important?
Yeah, sleep apnea is extremely important. That's another very common sleep disorder that we're seeing. It's where people have problems breathing in their sleep, where the airway either partially collapses or completely collapses. This results in interruption and fragmentation of sleep, and often associated with low oxygen level in sleep, which can be dangerous over time. And there's a lot of symptoms that are associated with it: loud snoring, not feeling rested when you wake up, headaches in the morning, daytime sleepiness. But it's something that's highly treatable and needs to be recognized.
My wife says she can actually hear me stop breathing at night sometimes, which is scary.
Yes.
So restless leg syndrome, that's a third one?
Yeah, that's an interesting disorder, which actually happens during wakefulness, but it's a sleep disorder. And so in this situation, people have had this uncomfortable sensation in their legs. Usually it occurs when they're at rest, but always in the evening time right before they're about to go to sleep. And so it does interfere with their sleep. So it impacts how they feel, but also interferes with their sleep as well.
So insomnia, apnea, and restless leg, can these be treated?
Yeah, there's a wide range of treatments available for sleep disorders, so that's the good part, is that almost all sleep disorders are treatable in some form or fashion, and the treatments will depend upon the specific disorder, the underlying causes, but they can range anywhere from just simple lifestyle changes to behavioral modifications, to medications, to sometimes devices that we use to help with breathing and sleep.
So where do we get the information on this? How do we know what the problem is if we're feeling tired during the day? Where do we go for help?
Yeah, I think it's important not to accept feeling poor during the day as a result of a bad night's sleep. So if this is a recurrent problem for you, I think you should talk to your doctor about it, because doctors often, unfortunately, are not asking patients about these issues. So it's up to the patient to bring this up.
But a place, let's talk about Metro for a minute. Metro
Sure.
Health has an actual sleep lab that you can go to and sleep, and doctors watch you and tell you what's wrong and then can come up with a solution?
Yeah, that's correct. We have a sleep program, so it starts with an evaluation in the clinic, and then if indicated, we will watch people sleep in the sleep lab to determine specific sleep disorders that may or may not be present, and then we'll proceed with treatment based upon that information.
That's great. Great to know. I don't think a lot of people know that exists or how important it is.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Sure.
If your lack of snooze is making you lose your required rest, call the Metro Health Center for Sleep Medicine. This is a wonderful program, and I'll never get tired of talking about it. The number for more information is coming up next. My thanks to Dr. Auckley for some eye-opening information.
For more information on Metro Health Center for Sleep Medicine, call 216-778-3441 or click to www.metrohealth.org/body. Next, mouth makeovers. But first, the Beatles had a slew of singles top the charts, but early April 1964 set a record. Music's Billboard magazine boasted that the Fab Four Beatles scored the first 5 slots with their songs. Can you name those tunes? We'll play back the answer when we return.
The FDA has approved a new procedure to relieve lower back pain, and doctors worldwide are using decompression for bulging discs and pain from aging.
Surgery or drugs to cover up your pain are options, but our well-documented, non-invasive procedure treats the cause of your pain. Decompression increases spinal disc space and draws nutrients back into the disc. This helps restore normal disc height and function.
Solon Spine, 440-248-5070, solonbackpain.com.
The Beatles were the one and only band to ever have landed the top 5 spots on Billboard's charts at the same time. The singles that rocked the music world were, in order, Can't Buy Me Love, Twist and Shout, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Please, Please Me.
The holidays are here, and maybe you're thinking it's too late to retool your teeth before you reunite with your relatives. But dentist Steve Marsh is here to update us on ways to upgrade your grin and face the new year with a new smile. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
My pleasure, Arne.
So it's not too late to get a Happy New Year smile before we wish our loved ones Happy New Year?
Well, we're almost there, but one of the things we'll do very often in our office is something called Zoom, which is a whitening procedure. It works on almost everybody, and it takes about an hour and a half, and in an hour and a half in the office, you can get a big, beautiful smile. Everybody gets a different event. Some do better than others. And then sometimes we can do Zoom in combination with other things.
And so what's this a picture of?
Well, you know, you talk about events. This is a young woman who came to me right before her sister's wedding. It was about 2 weeks away. She said, "What can you do?" And I mentioned Zoom. And though the teeth, excuse me, looked pretty bright, we actually whitened her teeth. And then, Armin, I actually did some reshaping. If you look at those front teeth, the centrals, they were very uneven. We reshaped them. We used some bonding. On the lower teeth that were so uneven, we just went ahead and in about a half hour reshaped the teeth to give her that beautiful smile.
You can do that in a half an hour?
Yeah, and lastly, thank you for putting it that way, and lastly we actually did some gum contouring. If you look at the top of her tissue, it was very uneven. So a combination of Zoom and reshaping, bonding, and that gave us a big difference.
All right, so now after we hit 2013, what can people do to make their smiles brighter for the year?
Well, it's a wonderful question. And this is a woman, actually, Armand, a lawyer and a politician. It's not you. You can see by the lip formation. And she was actually running for office this past November and also wanted a good smile. We started earlier in the year. And we did some gum contouring. Again, we do that today with a diode laser, raise the tissue, and we use porcelain veneers. So again, just in a very simple 2-appointment deal, we were able to give her the smile that she's really always wanted.
That's great. And I think we have a few more pictures, or at least 1 or 2, that you can show what else can be done for people.
Yeah, and I'd love to do that. And one of the things that happens in the new year is we also start with new insurance for patients who have insurance. So that's a big advantage as well.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are getting separated, divorced. It's an unfortunate symptom of our society, if you will. And this is a young woman who was a salesperson, was also separated and wanted to have a big, beautiful smile. And so we reshaped the teeth, and in 2 appointments with veneers, we were able to get that change. And again, she said when she was done, I wish I had done it years ago. But that's something a viewer can do at the beginning of the year. And
would she have gotten divorced earlier? No, no, just kidding.
She's a lovely person, actually, Armin.
What's this?
Well, it's not just about porcelain veneers. This is a patient who came to me. He was missing teeth. He had an old-time partial that went on and off with metal clasps. And I'm going to focus with the viewers on the lower teeth. He was a Golden Opportunities viewer. He had seen something we had done about these new no-metal partials. This does go in and out, Armin, but we were able to replace the front 4 teeth and some in the back. And we're able to do that in essentially 3 appointments. And he said it's light, it's comfortable, not cumbersome like his old one.
Great. Here?
Here. And it's not just for young and middle age. This is a patient in her mid-70s. She had talked about braces. I had suggested it. She said, at this age, I'm not going to do that. She said, what else can you do? And so we did porcelain veneers and some reshaping. Some people, Armin, want to do it all at once, some in stages. We actually did that whole job essentially in six appointments. But at the beginning of the new year, you can decide, do you want to do a lot at once, do you want to stage it? So it's a wonderful opportunity for people to make a choice.
And last one quickly.
And this is a patient who did it in stages. She hated the old crowns in the front. She wanted them white and bright. And because of financial and work situation, we were able to do that in time. We did that in segments. That's the upper when it was all done. But we're able to work with patients however they want to. And the New Year's it's a great opportunity.
Right,
absolutely.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. If you've resolved to obtain a high-resolution smile in 2013, give Steve a call. His number's up next.
See what Dr. Stephen Marsh can do for your smile by calling 440-461-1003 or visit www.clevelandsmiles.com. Next, the lowdown on locking up lawbreakers. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. Step out for the winter solstice at the West Woods Nature Center in Newberry. December 21st, beginning at 7:30 p.m., a candlelight walk helps light up nature's longest night while exploring the roots of today's timely traditions. Then end the evening indoors with hot drinks and holiday music. To find out more, call 800-536-4006 or visit www.geaugaparkdistrict.org.
Here's a clue. I'll warrant that if you investigate a very special museum here in Cleveland, you'll not only learn who done it, you'll also find arresting information about the various heroes and villains from our city's past, and all for free. Cleveland Police Detective Tom Armelli is here to lock up the details on the Cleveland Police Museum. And as the museum's president, he has all the facts of the case. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So the history of Cleveland and its police department are closely linked, aren't they?
Absolutely. The police department actually traces its roots right back to Moses Cleveland. When Moses was sent here by the Connecticut people, one of his marching orders was to establish peace, safety, and security for the group of people that he brought with him.
So he was like the first sheriff in town.
That's exactly what we're saying.
All right, so the museum honors the work of officers through the ages, but that also means that it includes the dark side of Cleveland with things like the Torso murders.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's the Torso murders was probably one of the biggest police investigations in the history of the department. It was back in the late 30s when a person that was known to the public as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run killed 12 people and mutilated their bodies. He chopped the bodies up and left the body parts at various locations throughout the city, basically in the Kingsbury Run area, which is the area that the rapid transit runs from Tower City to the east side.
Was that ever solved?
It was never solved. And
even with Elliot Ness on the job.
Elliot Ness was on the case, and a lot of people say that was one of the things that was really a burr in his saddle for the rest of his life.
So you have lots of items on display, not just pictures, but actual physical items, and a lot of them in storage that you switch around things.
Right, like any museum, we have about 25 or 30,000 artifacts and photographs in our collection, and like any museum, only a small portion of the museum's collection is usually on display at any one point in time.
One of the things that I'm fascinated by, you have Old Sparky. Tell us about that.
Right. We have an area in the museum that we reserve for special exhibits and temporary exhibits, and we were lucky enough to borrow the Ohio's electric chair from the Ohio Historical Society.
And this is we're having pictures of it right here.
Yes, this is the one and only electric chair that Ohio only used for execution since, I believe, 1898. 312 men, women, and children were executed in that chair.
Wow.
Like I said, we borrowed it from the Ohio Historical Society. We have it on temporary exhibit, hopefully through the first of the year, and then we'll return it.
Where was this one chair located? Where did all these...
This chair was at the Ohio Penitentiary for most of its life. It was moved, I believe, later to Lucasville. It hasn't been used since 1963 with the advent of lethal injection and things like that.
And where is the museum located, and what's the cost to go in?
The Police Museum is located right inside the Justice Center, right inside the Police Headquarters building on the first floor at St. Clair in Ontario, and the cost is always free. Donations are gratefully accepted, but the admission is free.
Well, Detective, thanks for coming out and telling us about a museum that I don't think most Clevelanders know anything about.
Well, we hope this will give them a little impetus to come down and see us.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the Cleveland Police Museum, it's a great place to learn about the great work done by our city's officers, both past and present. And this is very important. It's free. It's located right inside the first floor of the Justice Center, right there on Ontario and Lakeside. You don't have to wait until you have a traffic ticket to get the green light to go to the center. It's open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. My thanks to Detective Tom Armelli for showing us that when it comes to recognizing the importance of our police, this is one case that's always open.
To learn more, call the Cleveland Police Museum at 216-623-5055 or log on to www.clevelandpolicemuseum.org. Next, fighting health insurance fraud. It's time to get up and go. An exercise minute on golden opportunities.
Hello, I'm Mike Carbon from Breakout Fitness, and today we are going to work the quads and the front of our legs by doing a single leg press with our exercise band. This exercise is going to help us get up and down the stairs a little bit easier. All right, you ready to go? You got your band? Excellent. We're going to start with one leg bent at a 90-degree angle, our opposite leg out in front of us. Take the middle part of the band and place it right around your foot. Bring your fist to your waist. Great. Now remember, we never want to lock the knee, so always keep a slight bend. Bring your knee to your chest and extend all the way to the ground. Knee to chest and heel to ground. Nice and slow. Good job, Armand. Push it out there, buddy.
Up to the ground?
You can get it. Push it all the way out.
I don't know. It doesn't
all right,
go.
opposite leg now.
It's
knee to chest,
come up.
heel to ground. Try to breathe. Big deep breaths. 12 to 15 repetitions, 2 to 3 times a week, everybody. Now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
When looking for ways to reduce healthcare costs, you might not think to look closely at fraud, but the fact is $68 billion is lost to health insurance fraud each year. We're talking about fraud by doctors and other healthcare providers, fraud by insurance agents, and fraud by scammers, and that costs us all money. Medical Mutual of Ohio hasn't looked the other way, recovering $9 million last year alone. John Shoemaker's here to add up the ways Medical Mutual is fighting fraud, plus totaling the way seniors are targeted. John is the manager of financial investigation at Medical Mutual of Ohio. Thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here, Armin.
So fighting fraud is a full-time job. How does Medical Mutual help capture the con artists?
Well, it is a full-time job, and the way we've approached it is to develop a team of individuals with the right disciplines and years of experience. We have medical people, nurses, we have accountants, we have systems people, we have people with all the right backgrounds, ex-law enforcement officers, and we give them the tools they need with the experience they've had to combat fraud. And the tools I'm speaking of, we know we're in the digital age. All the information being transmitted today is electronic information, your healthcare information, and now, as you're well aware, your healthcare records are all going to be transmitted and digitized. Well, we have to step up to the plate and use and attack it in the same manner. In 2003, we purchased a product that not only analyzes and looks at all claims paid, but it also provides us with the ability to data mine, to do some predictive modeling, and help to focus our resources in the correct manner and try to find those cases which are truly fraud. Now, when we find those, we turn those over to our legal people, and they present them to the correct authorities.
And you've actually gotten an award for this.
Yes, we were very lucky. In 2009, the National Healthcare Anti-Fraud Association presented us with the Investigative Excellence Award, and that was the first time that award had ever been presented to a public enterprise. This group estimates that fraud is now increasing to the point of nearly $100 million a day. Wow. And I'm talking about fraud, waste, and abuse.
Woo. Now, seniors are particularly targeted for fraud. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Seniors have been targeted for fraud for quite a long time. Now, one might think, well, why is that? And I think that's because the scammers think that here's an individual who probably isn't aware of what's going on quite as much as others. And if we look at the Patient Protection Act, there was a certain dollar amount that was set aside to create a task force that specifically targets healthcare fraud. And these are seniors under the Medicare situation.
What are some examples of this kind of fraud?
You know, the type of fraud that we're seeing is broker fraud, where you'll find a broker going out to a house, selling a particular product to a patient, and then that individual will pay them directly. Insurance agents, doctors are going to commit fraud in the same manner. They're going to bill us for services that were not rendered. They're going to bill us for services that were upcoded, which I mean another level of service that wasn't provided. And the one that's absolutely most disturbing that we're seeing is billing for non-medically necessary services, especially surgeries. You're going to find medical discount plans. Now, these medical discount plans may be completely fraudulent. You're not going to know that. You're going to pay your premiums. You're going to get a card, and when you go to use it, it's not going to be honored. And how do they target seniors? Especially in the prescription drug plan, you're going to find the same thing. You'll get a card, you'll pay that premium, you'll go to use it, and those benefits will not be honored.
So what can our senior citizen viewers, older people that are targeted, how can we protect ourselves?
If there's one thing you remember from this, it's guard your card.
Guard your card.
Make sure that you treat that health care card the same way you would your credit card. Give it to absolutely no one except the provider who's giving you service. Do not give it to anyone who comes up to the door, knocks on the door, and says to you, you know what, I'm from Medicare or I'm from Medical Mutual, and we're trying to update our records. Could you tell us your Social Security number? Absolutely, that's a scam. We don't do that. Medicare does not do that. Protect yourself from identity theft. I think you'll find that you need to keep accurate records. Why do you need to keep accurate records? We provide you with explanation of benefits, so does Medicare. You need to know what you're being billed for, what types of devices you're being billed for, and I'm going to tell you one thing. If you see anything there that you don't think is correct or accurate, you need to notify us about that. And that's the most important thing that you can do, is notify us if you see something. You can call us, you can write a letter to us, you can go to our website, and we will certainly look into that information.
All of this is so helpful because we're talking real money here. So to the extent that you can help save, avoid fraud, you're protecting our viewers and you're saving money for premiums.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your advice.
Very
good help. So when it comes to fighting health insurance fraud, Medical Mutual is doing its part. Now we have to do our part. Follow John's proactive tips to avoid being conned. Stopping fraud protects our pocketbooks and can help save us money. My thanks to John for joining us today.
Thank you.
Find out more about Medical Mutual of Ohio by visiting their website, www.medmutual.com. Next, turn your term insurance into a moneymaker.
Sometimes it's about beating the clock. Sometimes it's about beating fate. And sometimes it's about beating the unimaginable. But there's one opponent our team loves to beat more than any other. We love beating the odds. We are the Metro Health System. We are the proud sponsor of the comeback.
You purchased term life insurance when you were younger to protect your spouse and kids in case you died prematurely. But since you're watching this show, obviously you're still here, which is good. But term life generally has fixed low premiums until you reach a certain age, and then the premiums skyrocket. So what should you do with your term life policy? Here to give us his never term limited advice is my law partner, Mike Solomon. Thanks for joining us, Mike. So what happens with term life insurance?
Well, as you mentioned, you buy term insurance usually when you're younger so you can provide for your spouse and your children. But when the term expires, then the premiums shoot up.
And what do we do at that point?
Well, usually what happens is that people drop that insurance because the premiums go so high. But when you drop that insurance, there's no cash value built in, so the policy disappears. But for many people, that's the right choice because maybe at that point, their children are out of the house, they built up a nest egg, they don't need the insurance like they did before.
Are there other options that people have besides just letting the insurance go?
Well, this is important. There are some options. Let me give you three. Number one, what you can do is you can drop that insurance and buy a universal policy or a whole life policy. Those will build up cash value. They'll be more expensive, but for some people that is exactly what you need. But however, you have to be insurable. Right. If you're not insurable, you can't get that insurance. That gets us to our second point.
Which is?
Some term policies you can convert without taking a medical exam and get the same benefit, death benefit. You can convert it from term to universal or whole life. But again, that could be very expensive.
All right.
Then let's say that option is not available. You might want to consider just continuing that term even though the payments are very much higher. If you're ill or terminally ill or death is imminent, you might want to consider just keeping that policy, and if you can't afford it, maybe your kids would chip in to keep the policy.
Because they're the ones that will benefit.
That's right.
So if we're thinking about converting to permanent insurance, can we wait until just before that premium goes up?
Well, yes and no. It depends on the policy. Many policies will say you can only convert up to a certain age, so you want to check that out before your term expires. As a matter of fact, you should go check your term policy now and see what the rules are in it.
All right. Good advice, Mike. Thanks very much. Most people who buy term life insurance let it die away when the term is over and the premiums jump. But that may not be your best option. For more information, give Mike Solomon a call. His number's up next.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information or to schedule a speaker for your organization. Or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.
Thanks for joining us. On next week's show, we resolve to help with your New Year's health resolutions. Then, when should your family get involved in your finances? We'll relate the right response. The West Side Market is still cooking at 100 years old. We'll list the ingredients of its success. Plus, looking for ways to get a jump on the job market? Our interview will help get you hired. Until next week, please make the most of your golden opportunities.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest information and show updates.